Before we move on, I'm going to ask, what happens if we find out these air traffic controllers have been there for a long time and they fit none of what he just described? And again, you've got to put everything into context. Why is he even bringing that up?
Doesn't matter what you just said. It doesn't matter what you find out. Only thing that matters is this. Donald Trump just stood there and told everyone that DEI, he told everyone that little people being hired was some of the
with disabilities. People who can't even walk.
So we can come tomorrow. You can do your top stories, Ursula, on Friday, and Heather can do this, and you can come and we can find. We don't know who was involved. We don't know who traffic controllers were. We don't know who the pilots were. We don't know anything. But it doesn't matter, because what we have learned is that it's all about the myth. It's all about the narrative. It's almost like white supremacy. I hate to get deep on you for a second, but I'm going to say it. White supremacy was always built on a lie. It was built on a lie that white people were more superior than everybody else. And in order to keep that same narrative, you have to keep the same lies. Literally. So here we are today. You blame Pete Buttigieg. You blame Biden. You blame Obama. You blame DEI. You blame little people. There's always, Ursula, my friend, a boogeyman in this country.
Well, you mentioned Pete Buttigieg. He did have some words about him.
The FAA, which is overseen by Secretary Pete Buttigieg. A real winner. That guy's a real winner. Do you know how badly everything's run since he's run this Department of Transportation? He's a disaster. He was a disaster as a mayor. He ran his city into the ground, and he's a disaster now. He's just got a good line of bullshit. The Department of Transportation, his government agency charged with regulating civil aviation. Well, he runs it. 45,000 people, and he's run it right into the ground with his diversity.
Sorry we didn't bleep that out, but that was the president speaking.
People mad at me today. They telling me to cut the theatrics. They're telling me to cut the evil. You're telling me to cut the evil. All I'm doing is responding.
No, I'm not gonna allow people to bully us into silence. No. The National Transportation Safety Board, I just want to remind all of you, is in charge of the investigation. It could take months, but President Trump thinks he knows what could have happened.
But we had a situation where you had a helicopter that had the ability to stop. I have helicopters. You can stop a helicopter very quickly. It had the ability to go up or down. It had the ability to turn. And the turn it made was not the correct turn, obviously. It did somewhat the opposite of what it was told. We don't know that would have been the difference because the timing was so tight. It was so little. There was so little time to think. But what you did have is you had vision. The helicopter had vision of the plane because you had vision of it all the way, perfect vision of it all the way from at Kennedy Center where the tape was taken.
How do you know that? Who told you that? That is not a fact. And so this is what I'm saying. And so people are so used to this new way of things, this new way of, well, what about this way of looking at things? And Gee,
I
Ursula,
like how he's so plain spoken. I like how he talks so that everyone can understand.
You have to see the other side.
It is not his place to put that information out there before the victims have even been recovered, before an investigation has even taken place.
Come on.
Okay. I need to say one more thing, though, because he says, rest assured, he is committed to having the highest standards for those who work in our aviation system.
About a week ago, almost upon entering office, I signed something last week that was an executive order, very powerful, on restoring the highest standards of air traffic controllers and others, by the way. Then my administration will set the highest possible bar for aviation safety. We have to have our smartest people. It doesn't matter what they look like, how they speak, who they are. It matters intellect, talent, the word talent. They have to be talented, naturally talented geniuses.
Okay, I just want to apologize to any air traffic controller working right now. I'm sure they're very busy.
doubt.
If you're listening,
No doubt.
you have one of the hardest jobs.
Yes.
You have one of the most difficult jobs. The president is right in that it is one of the most stressful jobs. It is very difficult jobs. It takes a lot of, but to even infer or imply that whoever's working as an air traffic controller right now is not qualified to do so is so disrespectful.
Very.
And by the way, the head of the National Air Traffic Controllers Association says in a letter to its members posted online that it is premature to speculate on the root cause of what happened here.
Ursula, can I ask you and everybody something? When I keep hearing DEI so much, when you guys think and hear DEI, text in right now. Who does it look like? When they say we're tired of DEI, what does that look like? Who does it look like? Is it somebody black?
It's you and me.
Yeah, because for some reason, when I see DEI being talked about, it's always on the heels of someone that just so happens to be black in that spot. But I want to remind some folks of something. If DEI only existed because there was a time that there was a lot of racism. Period. And there was a lot of people.
Can I explain this for maybe white guys who don't understand the whole DEI thing? Because the president's explanation for this crash came straight out of the How to Blame Women and Black People for Dummies playbook. Okay, this is why we have diversity initiatives. Let's say you're running a restaurant company organization. You have 100 employees, and all of those employees, 100, there are 98 white men, 1 woman, and 1 black man. In this market, you're desperate to hire. You can't find candidates to fill the job. Like with air traffic controllers, they're facing a shortage. Are you telling me you look around at those 98 white men and say, these are the best people in my market, in America, to hire? Of course not. That is why we have diversity initiatives at companies, is because companies want to be able to find the best people for the job, and that includes people who have been locked out of the market since time immemorial. So when you say this happened because of DEI, let me say what that means. That means this happened because of women and black people. This would not have happened if it was all white men here. That is what you are saying, and that is what the president is saying, and that is straight up racist and straight up wrong.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Chef. And
disrespectful,
yeah.
disgusting
Yep.
that he has immediately politicized a catastrophic event before the victims of the crash have even been recovered. What he is saying and doing is dangerous, and it is wrong. It is not what you would expect from a president. And I know we're going long, but I just want to point out, because I want to give you some facts, too. Just a week prior to this crash, Trump did fire the head of the Transportation Security Administration, all members of the Aviation Security Advisory Committee. The head of the FAA, Mike Whitaker, stepped down barely 1 year into his tenure. FAA administrators usually serve 5-year terms. Trump has, well, as of this morning, had not named a replacement. Why did Whitaker leave? Because Elon Musk was repeatedly attacking him on social media, tweeting that he needs to resign. Why? Because in September, the FAA administrator proposed more than $600,000 in fines for SpaceX, which is Elon Musk's baby. And he had told a congressional committee that the fines were the only tool that we have to get compliance on safety matters. Okay, so I want to make sure that y'all have the facts, too.
People don't care about facts. You want to give out the facts. We try our best to give out the facts. But there's a lot of people in this country who don't care about facts. But since you want an opinion, here's one. DEI isn't racism. It's the solution to historical racism.